Just so you know that the art people watching yesterday, there's no sound. The guy writes me, goes, "Is there no sound because the rat bit the wire?" So Kitzer, he wanted to show me that he's even watching the shir before. Kitzer, al tadag. Fine. Daf Kuf Chof Hey. We're holding my Mishnah, brand new Sugya, brand new Masechta today. For those who showed up from South Africa and from the Mazel Tov to Levi, delivered a baby boy. And all our guests. Number 44 delivery during Shir.
He rushed out of here yesterday. No wonder.
All right, we have an amazing Sugya of Tumah. There's a lot of simple, regular, basic Yesodis of Tumah. If you don't know anything about Tumah, today is a great day. Says the Mishnah, Kulas HaMeis. We're talking about what? We're not talking about smartphones here. Oh, you think you would have loved that one? We're talking about bones. What bones are tamei? What bones aren't tamei? The bone of a dead human being is inherently tamei midoraisa. B'chesa'ira, like a piece of a barley is metama. Kulis, that we had a shaila. It's machlokes. Kulis hameis. So you have a kulis. Kulis is that thigh bone, a very large bone that has a lot of bone marrow inside. The kulis hamugdashim. Now, kulis hamugdashim is a bone of an animal that typically midoraisa is not metama, but since it's noisaru pigul, hanugeh bahen bein stumin bein nekuvim, whether they have a hole in whether they're completely sealed, tomei. So in the doraisa, you're tomei. In the second case of the Mishnah, the kulis hamugdashim, we're going to call that the seifa. It's only midorabanan, and only your hands become tomei. Kulis nevela, the least tumah that we have is the thigh bone of an avela, v'kulis asheretz. Hanugeh behem stumim tohirim. So it doesn't have any tumah at all, even midorabanan. Now, nekuvim kolshu, if that bone has a tiny little hole, mitama b'maga. Now I could stick through that tiny hole. If I could stick through it a hair, so now I'm touching the hair, and the hair is touching the marrow. The marrow inside is matama mi. Therefore, the bone turns into a shomer, and the whole bone is tamei. The hair is a yad. And if I touch, right, even if the hair is not there, because I could theoretically get to the tumah. I just, it's on this whole amud, but yesterday Noam had a difficulty with it. I just want to explain. It's a very simple concept. If the bone marrow is inside a sealed bone, then bone marrow is not tummy, because my bone marrow right now is not emitting any tumah. So my body is not protecting tumah. So my body is not a shomer for tumah. The only time your skin can be a shomer, you asked me about orange. The only time your skin can be a shomer for tumah is if the tumah is exposed, and it is tummy, and it's protecting that tumah that's exposed. But if the tumah is not exposed, then it's not tummy. It's not tumah. It's never tumah until it becomes exposed. So therefore, shomer doesn't happen at all unless it's exposed. That's the whole concept. And that's why if there's a puncture hole through the bone, now the tumah becomes exposed. You have a way to get to the tumah, then it becomes into a shomer. But until there's a hole, it's not a protector of tumah because it's not tumah. It only becomes tumah when it's open. What? No, because any tumah inside your body is nothing's tummy. Tumah only happens afterwards. It's belua. It's closed up. Basis starim. It's not tummy. It's not that this bone marrow that's tummy is just hidden. You can't get to it. It's not tummy. It doesn't emit any tumah. It only emits tumah when you expose it, and then when you expose it, I have a shomer. I have a peel covering it. So the Mishnah, so now that I know that if I touch this bone, if it has a hole in it, it's metamba b'mago, so then we know right away, like we said yesterday, it's also metamba b'maso. If you lift it up, you also become tamei. One pasuk says the word negeya, which is maga. The next pasuk says v'hanoise, which is masa. they're connected to each other, they're linked to each other. So if I'm become tummy through touching, then I become tummy through lifting. Problems? Gary, we got to do something here. We got to get this. It's becoming.
There's not a kazais of bone marrow you're saying. Is that what we're saying?
Yes. Take it off Wi-Fi. Let's take it off Wi-Fi right now. Here, give it to me a second. Do the whole thing. Take it off Wi-Fi. Let's see if I can do it. Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi. Just hit it. It's good? Okay, now we're on Golan. We're on the Wi-Fi shvach. We have to misgaber the mitakber. What's the word? All right, we have to increase the Wi-Fi thing. Fine. Zok the Gemara. The Wi-Fi is actually they just installed the Wi-Fi. It's downstairs, and there's a what do you call it? A extender. There's an extender over there, but it's not strong enough. It's giving a very strong signal. It's just I don't know. Okay. If the bone has a piece of basar on it, boil nami letama, then you should be over. Then you should be coming in oil. The like kizayis basar. So we have to say there's no kizayis basar. Kizayis moyach mibifnim, and if inside the bone there's a kizayis, tuma b'kaz v'oila. So now we have the concept. We all know this concept, right? If you have tuma does not like to be claustrophobic. So if you have tuma inside of a bone, it's stuck inside a bone, it's going to explode outwards. So even if it's protected by the layer of the bone, anything hovering over the bone is going to become tummy. So we have to say that what? There's no bone marrow at all. Or at least not a kazayis. So says the Gemara, the like a kazayis moyach mebifnim. And if a little bit of bone marrow, Rashi says no bone marrow, but if it could heal itself, then we have another problem. How do we view this bone? Do you view this bone as a limb? Well, it depends. If it could heal itself and it could regenerate its bone marrow or regenerate some flesh on the bone, then it's considered a limb. Now you're talking about a living organism that regenerates. So that's no different than any other limb. A limb is mitama boil. Now, if it cannot regenerate, then it's just tamei tumas bone, but it doesn't have tumas oil. There's a big difference. I could have a situation, and that's how we say that you have a bone that if I touch it or lift it, then I become tamei. But I hover over it, I don't become tamei, and it doesn't give tumah to the whole room like a regular mace. I have a kazayis mace, basar, that gives tremendous amount of tumah to the whole room, so anything in the room becomes tummy. But a giant bone that doesn't have basar on it doesn't do anything to the room in terms of oil. You touch it, you're tummy. So we have one pshat here. Two Amoraim agree that the bone does not heal itself. Then you have Rabbi Yochanan that's going to say the bone does heal itself. But if you hold that the bone doesn't heal itself, and b'mayu kimta deleki kazayis, and we said the bone doesn't heal itself. The bone doesn't have a kazayis. B'mugdashim mamay metama. So then, what is going on here? This bone is nothing. It cannot regenerate. It's not an aver. It doesn't have a piece of meat attached to it. So it's garnished mit nisht. Amay metama. V'su kulis nevelo v'kulis hasheretz kinikvo amay metama. So what if they have a little hole in it? There's a hole to nothing. Where's this hole going to? To bone. We always thought it's going to the bone marrow, and I could poke here and touch the bone marrow. But you're telling me there's nothing in there. It's hollow. So what did you gain by having a hole? So the Gemara now, and this is what Rabbi Yochanan doesn't like so much. Why? Because Rabbi Yochanan, they're going to say that we're talking about two cases, and anytime you talk about two different cases, it's a little shvach. Halikashi, Reisha deleke kizayis, Sefer deke kizayis. The Reisha, you're right. The Reisha is talking about there's no kizayis. So if there's no kizayis, so what's the big chiddush? We're going to say. And the Sefer, meaning the second words in the Mishnah, is the Sefer. It's a very short Reisha and very short Sefer. It says, Kulis HaMeis Reisha. Kulis HaMukdashim is the Sefer. Okay, so that Sefer is talking about it does have a kizayis, which would be interesting to say word after word, one is talking about not a kizayis, one is not. But that's how he says the pshat. Umay kol mashmalan, mili kol mashmalan. Each one has its own chiddush. Reish kol mashmalan, the moich mibifnim, ve'eni mal arucha mibachutz. The bottom line is, I need to tell you that a bone cannot regenerate itself. Mugdashim, I wonder if this is like, one of the things the Chazon Ish got his knowledge in medicine from. People asking, no, don't do a bone marrow transplant. He's thinking about Chullin, Daf Yomi, whatever it is. Ve'eni mal arucha mibachutz. Mugdashim. So therefore, what? So if it can't regenerate, then it's not an aver. Mugdashim kol mashmalon shimush noisar milsehi. Since the bone is there to hold the bone marrow, so it is a basis l'davar asur, so to speak, like in Shabbos. You have a table that holds the candelabra. It's a basis l'davar asur. So here I have a bone that holds marrow inside. That's noisar. That's pigul. It's a davar. It's a basis davar asur. So therefore, if you touch it, your hands, only your hands, not your whole body, become tamei. It's interesting. Taisus points out here that the chiddush would be that even though there's no bone marrow right now, but since it was a basis, ben hashmasha, so to speak, borrowing from Shabbos, it used to be a basis for bone marrow. So even though right now there isn't bone marrow, so then it still continues the isur. Nevela avagav deikikazayis, and the chiddush in the third part of the Mishnah would be that if you have a bone of a nevela avagav deikikazayis nikva in lo nikva lo. So even if it's full of bone marrow, you have a full kazayis, you have mamish tuma, and this is what we were talking about before. The tuma is sealed, so the tuma does nothing for you. You could touch the outside of the container. It's plastic. There's nothing there. You didn't get contaminated unless there's a tiny hole. Abai says something very similar, but not quite. Yes. If there's a marrow inside, it heals. So he's not asking to this side. He says, yes, I'm asking to you that there's no kizayis. I'll agree with you that the first part of the mission is talking about no kizayis, and when it's talking about kachim, there is a kizayis. Strange. But I'm going to say something different here. Not the pshat that bone marrow doesn't heal the bone. It does heal the bone. So if it heals the bone, why is it not considered an aver? Because we're talking about a specific situation where the guy snatched out the bone. So if you have a tree, you have a palm tree, this is the Gemara's mashal. If you have a palm tree and you notch out the whole palm tree from right to left, thumbs down, this tree is going to die. Because nutrients cannot travel up the tree. You take a saw and you make a groove into the tree.
The whole way.
You don't cut the tree, you make a groove in it. A nice, 2 inches deep.
You ruin the skin of the tree.
You ruin the bark of the tree. So now the nutrients cannot travel. I guess they travel on the surface of the tree. All the water, whatever comes up, into the sap in here. Right? When you break a regular tree, what happens? It starts oozing sap. So the sap is somewhere in here. You make a nice cut all the way around. Tree's dead. If you take a saw and you take the same cut and you go from top to bottom, nothing's going to happen. The sap has other ways to travel. Says the Gemara, what? Thumbs up? Huh?
That's what Chazal meant. Chazal will say thumbs up and thumbs down.
I had more than 10 minutes today. This is last night's thing. So if you have take the same exact thing. Here you have bones. So if you have a notch going this way, you destroy the bone. It's not mala aruka. It's not going to regenerate. If you have a notch going this way, this is a notch. You see a notch?
So it's the same thing. Bones and trees.
Bones and trees. The simon is
the collagen fibers are not.
You did great.
I thought you just said if you have a nikuv the size of a hair.
That's tumah. We're talking about regeneration. Does the bone regenerate?
So if the bone regenerates, even if the bone regenerates, it's still tummy.
Yeah. Because it doesn't regenerate, it's not considered an aver for now.
Yeah, but it also doesn't make a hole all the way in.
Yeah, obviously we're not talking about holes. We're talking about this bone is considered an aver without a hole in it because it can regenerate the inside, the bone marrow can regenerate the whole bone. And Rashi learns even if you scrape out all the bone marrow from inside the bone, if it disappears, the bone will regenerate the marrow even. That's how Rashi holds. Says the Gemara, Visim, let's see. He made a notch. Okay, the Rebbe Lazar, kulis sheshifa la'arka tmeya, la'rachba tahira, v'simanach dikla. If I notch it to the width, the circumference all the way around, then I just ruined. There's no tum anymore because it's not going to regenerate. It's not an aver. Remains tame. If from up to down, to top to bottom, it remains tame. V'simanach dikla, and your simon is that picture of a palm tree. So those are two pshatim. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, and l'chayr Rabbi Yochanan is coming to say, I don't like this whole idea that the first word of the Mishnah is talking about a half or no nothing, or whatever, less than a kazayis. And the second word, v'kulis hamukdashim, is talking about a full kazayis. I'm going to tell you a different pshat. Lo ilam dika kazayis. Both cases are talking about this, they're uniform. They both have a kazayis. Umayach mibifnim malaruka mibachutz, and it regenerates. Now, maybe he says, yeah, do the surgery. Now, what's the big issue? If that's the case, so you have everything going well. Everything. The bone has marrow. It's a whole aver. So the question is, then it's oil. Why does the Mishnah talk about touching a bone? The Mishnah should say, if you put your hand right over the bone, you become tamei. It's meat. Any dead meat of a dead person, dead meat in a house or anywhere, is oil. The tumah goes all the way up. So just putting your hand there. So why does the Mishnah use the word negeya? Says the Gemara, mahil. Now it's not just like you think. It meant to say oil. It said negeya. No. What Rabbi Yochanan is saying is an amazing thing. He says that touching the ear space of flesh, of human flesh, is touching the flesh.
Communication.
There's an invisible electric current. There's something going on there that if you wear the right glasses, you can actually see it emanating from the meat. And by you putting your finger in there, you touch tumah. You didn't just create a roof over the tumah, you touched it. So the Mishnah could use the word negeya. Why is that important? Because, as we're going to see in a second, the halacha is, if you have two half a kazesim, they can combine for tumah if they are called the same thing, if they do the same thing. So if I have one chatzi kazais that I'm doing an oil over, and the other half a kazais that I'm touching, I can combine the two because oil is touching. They come from the same mishpacha. They're related. But if you hold that oil is not touching, then I can't combine them. But Rabbi Yochanan is saying that they're very connected. Coming over a piece of tumah, and obviously over here he's talking about that it's more than a tefach above. It's mamish above. You're hovering way above. It's still considered touching, even though you're not physically touching it. Halachically,
over a cemetery.
yeah. You get anything else? I mean, a malach maybe. It seems like a malach could actually see tumah. They try to avoid tumah. They see these when they're flying around. They see these rays and they have to navigate around it because they said by the Chashmonai, they said that they're not going to get us. What are you going to bring malachim? We painted ourselves with chazer oil. So the malach can't touch me. That's it. It's like a barrier. He can't even come close. Akapanim, there's some sort of there's something emanating here, according to Rabbi Yochanan. Nevela v'kulas hasheretz kilo nikvu amay tahirim. Where are we? So if it does regenerate, kulas nevela v'kulas hasheretz kilo nikvu amay tahirim. So it can regenerate. So it's an aver. But it's an aver. It's an aver. Forget about the tum inside. It becomes an aver. From the fact that it can regenerate, now you're talking about an aver of an avela. It's worthless, the stuff inside. It rattles, meaning it's dried out marrow. Dried out marrow doesn't regenerate. When it comes to a dead person, we don't care if it's dry or not. As we're going to see, you could have a ladle full of literally, I don't know what it's called in English.
Corpse dust.
What?
Corpse dust.
Corpse dust. That's a very good word. Thank you. Rekev, corpse dust. It's dust. Basically, the human turns into dust and ashes. Well, ashes is from. I like corpse dust a lot more. It's not ashes. You didn't burn it. It turned into this dust by itself. Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Dried out.
It's a scary word, corpse dust. But I call upon him. So by your mace, I don't care that it's dry. Dry is also matama, just like not dry. So it's because va'ila. It has the power to penetrate the bone and go out and be matamayu. Nevela, kivin the miskashkishu nikva in le nikva loy. But over here, by a nevela, you don't have tuma b'kei va'ila. It's not a dead person. It's just a dead animal. So you have to touch it. So if it's dry, then it doesn't do anything unless you have a hole that you could access the tumah. Once you have a hole, even the size of a hair, I could get to the tumah. Then if I touch it, then I become tamei. Omer Rebbe Bavin.
When it's dried out, it can't regenerate.
Yeah, that's what Rashi says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Once it's dry, it's not malaruga, so it's not an aver, so it's not the only way to do it is by touching it.
That's big as ice.
Yeah, sure. Has to be kazayis. Omer Rebbe Bavin, we say Rebbe Yossi bar Ravin afanami nitanino hanu yigeh bechatzi zayis. Now he proves Rebbe Yochanan's point. Rebbe Yochanan said that when the Mishnah says touching, it means oil. Oil and touching are one and the same. So now I have the case which we mentioned before. That what? I touched a half a kazayis. So with my right hand I'm touching. Umayla chatzi kazayis, and then with my left hand I'm hovering over another half a kazayis. So now my body really is in contact with a full kazayis halachically. Half a kazayis with the oil, half a kazayis by touching. Are they connected? Oy chatzi kazayis mal olav tome. Okay, there's no difference in halacha. Look at this. This is tuma. Tuma goes. There's a laser beam that shoots downwards and a laser beam that shoots upwards. There's no difference in halacha if I put my hand over here or I put my hand over here. That we have to understand. There's no difference. So that's all the Gemara is saying. That even if your hand is underneath it, okay, so it's underneath it, it's above it. The point is there's one laser beam. It doesn't go in all directions. It goes up and down directly. But it goes downwards too.
How far down?
Forever. At a time. It goes to China. Well, no, the ground is gonna. Obviously, there's barriers. No, there's a barrier. Metal, wood, dirt. There's barriers.
The world is
It
flat.
depends. What?
The world is flat. Doesn't it?
So if people are worried about
Water might be. Yeah.
people are worried about flying over a cemetery,
Mm-hmm.
you should be just as worried about that plane going overhead of you, because very often they have
The plane.
dead bodies.
Yeah.
The plane is a.
No, it's not a thing. Yes, the guy, Rav Zilberstein told the guy, Kohen, when he found out that he was on the plane, he wanted to jump off the plane, he was a Kohen, Rav Zilberstein told him to put something, he wrapped himself in a bag. His pictures, go look on the internet. There's a guy sitting in a lal in a plastic bag.
The difference is between Vadai and Sophic.
What?
The difference between Vadai and Sophic. When it's Vadai, it's also.
I think he has a good point though. The only thing is that you're not going to be directly under a plane. What are the chances that thing's going to be above you? That's like,
That's why
but I once saw Rabbi Schoenberg like ducking, like he looked up and he started running.
What about a box?
What?
What about a box in the
the
plane?
basic force is underneath.
No, basic conversion is huge, but when a little plane is flying above you,
When you're flying, you're
if you stand on the left side of the plane flying above you, that's not where the iron is. It's usually on the right side.
But it's never Vadai.
What about a box in the
Unless
plane?
you duck-
Box with a
you
base.
duck.
Yeah, that's the box.
Does the box have a tefach?
Yeah, it has a tefach. It has a tefach. The mace in the plane should not be a problem.
Because it has a tefach of airspace?
Yeah, it locks the tumah in by giving it a tefach. Oh, that's right. It is getting late. Okay, fine. So iyam is bishloim achad shmahu. If you say touching an oil is considered the same exact thing, tomei. I understand why the guy's tomei. Eliyam is straight shmeininu, but if not like Rabbi Yochanan, one is called a maga and one is called the oil. Mi mitzaref. Wasnan zeh klal. Kol shu m'shem echad. If it's one name, maga and oil mitzaref tomei. Mishnei shem istar. It says mufurish it has to be the same name. Elamai chachmo. Okay, so very good. We have a good right to Rabbi Yochanan. It's considered one name. I touch it and I'm over a half a kazayis. I'm tomei. In the seifos. Then what do you do with the seifo? It says hanugeh bechatzi zayis. I touch a half a zayis. Now the only difference in the two cases is before my body was hovering over the dead person, and now instead of my body hovering over it, I have a house hovering over it, and I'm in the house. It's a dover acher. Bal kechatzi zayis tar. Over there, I am tar. Vichat shmahu amai tar. So the Gemara has a very good kasha l'chayra. What's the difference if I am hovering over the dead person? That's l'chayra, what we understand is a oil, and this oil is considered touching. Where if I'm in a room, that's an oil. I'm in a room, I'm touching everything in the room. What's the answer going to be? Logically, there's a big difference. Over here, it's a stronger tumah that goes directly above. I'm touching that. Whereas the oil, it's the oil tumah. It's a different kind of tumah. So then how do you explain the ratio according? Okay, so you don't agree with me. So then how come if I touch a half a gazais and I'm over half a gazais, how come in that case I am tamei? I have a picture for this. Also a lot of work. You're going to love this picture. We have two bookcases, explains Rashi, two aroy noise. And in between the bookcases, you think it's easy to find two bookcases that are separated exactly by tefach on the internet? It's not so partial. No, they're different books. Fine. Anyways, there's a tefach between the two. Yeah, they are real. They are. So here's what's going on here. You have a gap between the two bookcases, and you have a piece of meat that's a kazais on the bottom.
Tummy.
And what happens is, obviously, this is a dead person.
Is this IKEA?
Could be.
Yeah, looks like it.
Is this
Shkoyach. Stop rooting for me. What happens is,
Is this where I'm is?
I don't know, somewhere. It's not. He's not that cute. He's not. By the way, we missed an opportunity. I said it, but I didn't say it with the whole thing. When the mouse came through, I said, "Oh, we're learning the sugi." But at that, I should have said, "We're like Reb Chaim Kanievsky. He gets the grasshopper to land on his gemara. We get the actual rat to come right the share. We're talking about shares right then and there, and the rat came through. What?
He gets sure we get
Oh, very good, very good. But he got a little tiny grasshopper. We got the real Baruch who sent him right into the share. And we were scared like it from like mamish like a shares. Everybody jumped onto the chair. Rabbi Sai, do you see what's going on here? What? We didn't know where it was. But the Arnold thought, were you here, Reuven? What? It's on Matzah Shabbos. I just realized it's only Matzah Shabbos this night. That's when they come to eat. So one Matzah Shabbos says, "Oh, a rat!" Everybody, I'm sure he's like dreaming. In middle share, he saw a rat. Now the whole island was there to see. So I cleared my name for that one. Anyways.
That's the problem. It comes even when you're not learning it.
Yeah. We don't know what we're learning then. Who knows? Maybe we're learning then. Fine. Anyways, listen to this. There's a piece of meat on the bottom. What happens is, because there's less than a tefach, like we said before, tumah ritzutza, what does tumah ritzutza mean? Anytime tumah is claustrophobic, it explodes. So over here, it explodes throughout the entire gap. And if you stick your finger anywhere in this gap, even not above the piece of meat directly, it's as if you touch the tumah. Everybody agrees to this halacha. It's touching tumah. This whole gap where the red arrow is, I don't know if you can see the red arrow, it's all tamei mamish benegiyah. You have a tiny piece on the bottom, the whole thing becomes tamei. Yeah, obviously it's a kazayis. Yeah, you got it?
About the bookcases on the side.
So let's go weiter. Oy we have to run. No, the bookcase on the side, nothing. No. It's contained within the two walls. The bookcases over here is nothing. Guard.
They're too big.
Yeah. Says the Gemara, so what's going on here? Tumah ritzutza. Ritzutza means it explodes, right? Going back to Nachal Kishon, what is it called? Where the two pipes come out of the ground. We try to get the tumah out of the ground. There's nowhere for the tumah to escape, so we had to give it an escape route because tumah likes to run away. So over here, it runs away all through this whole gap, not on top of the bookcase, by the way. Once your hand is over here, what? It's contained, and then it wants to go weiter. It wants to break out of that containment. So that's how it fills up this gap. If these two bookcases were exactly a tefach apart or more, it wouldn't do that, because then just directly above the kazayis, all the way up to Shemayim, is tamei, but not in the entire gap. It can't fill up the gap. It fills up the gap. Two closets, two bookcases, askinon. And between the two, you don't have a tefach. The kula negiyahi. Then by touching anywhere in that gap, you are doing negiyah. So now, so at the end of the day, I don't have a good raya for Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yochanan says that oil is negeya. No. We're talking about a very specific case where there's only a very narrow gap, and then everybody holds that it's negeya and not oil, or oil is negeya. So I don't have a good raya for Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says in every single case of oil, it's negeya. So who is this Tana? Uman Tana the Koil Oil Negea Rabbi Yosi. The sign Rabbi Yosi Oimer Meloy Tarvat Rokov. So this is the corp dust. I guess it's a play on words. Crap duster and corp dust. Something like that. Fine. Meloy Tarvat Rokov Mitama Maga Ubemasu Oil. You have a ladle full of corp dust. Obviously, if I lift it up, I'm tamei. And if I was oil on it, I'm tamei. What about if I put my finger right over here on this side of it? You're not tamei. Why are you not tamei? Because you didn't touch the dust. You touched 17 particles of the whole ladle, but you have to touch all million of them. How can you possibly touch all million? They're not connected to each other. It's dust. It's not one gush. It's not one solid object. It's dust. So if I touch it, I'm not tamei. But it says, look what it says. It says b'maga, you are tamei. That's a problem. I touched everything. I was oil on everything. I lifted everything. I didn't touch it all. So over here, I can have a raya, I have a mina that when I touch it, when I do an oil, it's called touching, and we're not talking about touching because touching obviously doesn't work. I'm doing an oil, and the Brisa calls it touching.
Brisa says Matan b'maga masa ube oil.
Correct, and that's the Gemara's next question. Vokatani noigeya, vokatani ma'al. The Brisa says both oil and noigeya. It can't be that noigeya means oil if it says both. Amar Bayo, two pshatim here. There's a difference. There's two oils, says Abaye. There's a really strong oil where I'm within a tefach, and I'm 5 tvachim above. Two types. One is touching, and one is above. So Abaye is actually mechulik on Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan holds, even if I put my hand 5 tvachim above a tumah, it's mamish negia. Comes Abaye, says no. If it's within a tefach, that's negia. 5 tvachim is not. Abaye lemata mit tefach, oil negia. Lemala mit tefach, but if it's above that, oil greda, it becomes exactly.
What's the difference?
A big nafkamina is if I touch a half a gezais with my finger and I do an oil more than a tefach above, then it's not the same name. One is called the oil, one is called negeya, and they don't come together. But if it's lemata mitefach, then according to Abaye, it's the same shem, and you are tamei. Rav Omar. What?
It doesn't add together to make a zikr.
Right, it doesn't add together. Rav Omar afilu lemala mitefach nami oil negihu. Rav says like Rabbi Yochanan that even above a tefach it's still considered touching. And who says that? Rabbi Yochanan. So this fits in with the Rabbi Yochanan. Ve'echidami oil greda. So then where do you have the whole concept of oil? So just call it negia in the whole Torah. Why do you say oil? There is bamshacha in a room. If you have a piece of kazai somewhere in the corner of the room and the whole entire room becomes an oil, that's not touching. That's called oil. But if I'm directly above that piece of kazai in the corner, that's touching it. The laser beam there is so strong that's as if you're touching it. But just a spread out contamination throughout the whole house, that's called oil. Rabbi Yossi Omer. Chavile mito. We're mamish prepared today. We've held it. Chavile mito, Rabbi Yossi. You have a mattress holder made out of a web of strings.
A rope bed.
Rope bed. Well, on top of it, this is how people used to sleep, right? Mm-hmm. So it says the Gemara like this. Usrigi chaloinos. You have, I don't know exactly what srigi chaloinos, maybe it's like what we have today. Just bars on the window. So if you have, basically it's very holy, right? It has a lot of holes. The tumah l'chayra could go through these holes. But since it's less than a tefach, these holes are less than a tefach, so it's amazing. It creates a barrier for tumah. So if I have, that was unbelievable. Hillel, you're here for 2 minutes and that's it? I'm that bad?
Keep it paid my coffee.
Okay. Say that. So you have a dead person on the first floor. You have a hatch in your ceiling to get to the second floor. The tumah goes straight into the second floor. But if I take this web right over here and I put it on my hole, tumah stops. It stops the tumah from going. I have holes in it. It stops it. They're less than a tefach. It's a barrier. An invisible barrier for tumah. Okay. Then.
Why would a whole size of a hair allow you to?
No, that's if you touch it. If you touch the bone, it doesn't go. We're talking about invisible tumah emanating, radiating. I like that word, radiating. Chavila mida, usrige chalonis choitzitzin. They create a barrier between the two floors. What if you? So these strings are not tummy. If you were able to somehow suspend them in the air right above the dead person, and now here's the key point of the Gemara. This word hanoigeya. If you put your finger in the hole, in the gap right over here, where there's no rope, what does the Gemara call it? Negia. Negia. How far above the mace is it? More than a tefach. And I'm calling it touching. So here's a raya that even though I'm way above the mace, it's just the radiation. Touching radiation is touching. It's not called oil, it's touching.
Faraday cage.
What?
It's like a Faraday cage.
I don't know what that is. Sorry.
Stop electricity. If you have a cage around you, then you don't. The electricity doesn't go out.
Really? Okay.
Radiation.
Let's finish. We only have 4 or 5 minutes. If you touch where there is no rope, in the opening of the hole, you become tamei. But so what's going on here? You have tumah radiating through the holes because it's above a dead person. It goes right through. Over here, it's not a chatzitza. Only between the first and second floor it's a chatzitza because it's within the it's in the structure of the house. So it's as if you have a floor, a complete floor going. Over here, it's not structural. It's just hanging. Some layman put this web right above the dead person, so it doesn't create a good chatzitza. The tumah goes right through the holes, but not where the rope is.
Maybe it's meaning to push it inside.
No, through. If you're looking with your radiation glasses, you'll see a bunch of pipes of tumah coming up, but wherever there was rope, there's no tumah coming out. The rope stops the tumah. So Mamela, if you put your finger on the rope, you're not tumah. Because there's no tumah there. The tumah goes between the holes. It comes out of the holes. Right? The mace is over here. The mace is where my hand is, and this is above the mace. So tumah comes shooting out in the shapes of these squares, or whatever these are called.
Put your finger inside.
What?
Why is that difference between it being in the room and the floor above?
Because I explained, the floor above, it's somebody screwed it into the ceiling. It's part of the house. So a house stops it. A floor, if you have beams in the floor,
That's permanent.
permanent, that's the word, permanent, thank you.
We should.
It's permanent, whereas this is some guy just suspended it above a dead person. Let's go, we got 2 minutes. What?
You say within 2 tvachim, it's like you have a wall on sukkahs. We say that if you have ropes.
That's, yeah, love it, that's something else. If this is suspended, this web is suspended less than a tefach above the mace, this should be considered like the garment of a dead person. Then a garment is a garment, and it's tamei. So everything, even touching the rope, it shouldn't save you from tumah. The touching the rope, you should be tamei. So you must say that we're talking about a case that's above a tefach. So over here you see the concept that even oil is called touching. This web, this bed frame is under a tefach. When you ask me a bam kasha that it can't be under a tefach because then it's considered part of the mace. Yes, if you put tachrichim on a dead person, you want it to be part of the dead person. Over here, I want to use this tomorrow for my bed. So I was never mevatel to the dead person. But the Gemara is a bam kasha. We all know that if something's within a tefach of a dead person, then the tumah has nowhere to go. It's tumah ritzutza. What happens when you have tumah ritzutza? It explodes. It goes upwards. So anyways, you should be tamei because it went upwards. Well, the only answer is to say he doesn't hold that it goes upwards. Everybody does besides Rabbi Yossi. Hold on, we got to finish. It should be a tumah tumuna, also known as tumah ritzutza. It should be bekev ha'oila. It should go up. Because of Rabbi Yossi, tumah tumuna eina bekas. He holds that it doesn't go up. Umenal timra. And how do I know that he holds like that? Because he actually holds 2 kulas. This nan. Amazing. Let me just say quickly outside. If you have a refrigerator with loyalenu, a dead person in it, or let's say a part of his body, and there's a shelf above him that's more than a tefach, and you slam the door shut, what happens? The tumah has where to go. It has more than tefach, so it's contained. If you puncture a hole in the door of the refrigerator, less than a tefach, and let's say the refrigerator is empty and there's a dead person in the room, the tumah cannot get into the refrigerator because it's less than a tefach. But if there's a dead person in the refrigerator, then the tumah shoots out of that hole and contaminates the whole house. Why? Because we say svara that eventually the meat is going to come out of this refrigerator. Get out somehow. So once it comes out, you're going to pull the body out. You might as well just.
What do you mean it has to come out?
They have to bury it. Something's going to happen with this dead person. They're going to have to open up the door and let it out. It's going to let itself out right now through this hole.
Out of the house.
Oh, so says Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says I could burn the refrigerator. Oh, it doesn't have to come out. Or I could chop it up into chopped liver and pull it out through the hole like that. Fine. So that's one thing he says. It has a hole tevach, but the hole in the door of the refrigerator is not a tevach. Tumah b'soicha habayis tomei. The hole has become tomei. Tumah b'bayis, but if the tumah is in the house, mashe b'soicha tar. Because eventually it's going to come out. Rabbi Yossi mitar. Why? V'katani seifa ha'mida b'pesach. If you take this refrigerator and you put it to your front door and you let the tumah, so to speak, shoot outwards to the street, tumah b'soicha abayis tar, tumah b'bayis mashe b'soicha tar. So everybody agrees that the tumah will shoot out to the street and not into your house. V'tani Allah, Rabbi Yossi mitar. So what does it mean? He can't be saying everybody agrees that there's no tumah over here. He's going on the Reisha, and all he's saying is regardless of what your svara is, that we said before the svara. Anyways, you don't have to take it out from the refrigerator door, you could burn it. This is the point that we need. If you think that it's going to burst out of the refrigerator because the concept of tumah ritzutza comes out, I hope it doesn't come out. Have a wonderful day. It's great to see you, Mandy.